Good, good afternoon. This is February 26th at 1:30, the first meeting of the Public Records Task Force. We are attending hybrid, in-person, and virtual. We have, I will begin by calling the meeting to order, and we'll have a roll call of those in attendance. All members may not be in attendance right now, but they're expected to all be in attendance shortly. So I'll start with here in person. We have Ben Littman, Colleen McCarty, myself, Brittany Walker, Leslie Nino Piro, and Mitch Fox. And virtually attending via Zoom, we won't be able to show the individual, but you'll hear their voice. We have Matt Christian, and are there any other members online?
This is Matt Morris. I'm online. Yeah.
Josh, I think that was Josh Hicks.
Yes.
And we have Matt Christian online, Josh Hicks. Any other members online right now?
This is Matt Morris online.
We have Matt Morris online. I see Vince Guthrow online. Do we have
Kaylee Work is here.
And Kaylee Work is here. So we are all present. So with that, we'll move to item 2, public comment. Members of the public may comment in person or in writing on matters on the agenda at this time. Comment is not available by Zoom or telephone, as we did not have the capability to do that. In-person comments will be limited to 3 minutes. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under public comment period unless the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an action item. So with that, we'll open it up for public comment. Is there any members in person willing to speak?
Hello. Good afternoon to you all. Thanks for being here. Good afternoon. My name is David Charnes. I'm an investigative reporter with 8 News Now here in Southern Nevada. My work requires me and some other journalists in this room to rely on public records every day to uphold the core principle of our democracy, which is shining a light on actions of government and holding those in power accountable. You may be familiar, but the first line of Chapter 239 of our statutes say the state's public records law say that Nevada should, quote, foster democratic principles by providing members of the public with prompt access to inspect, copy, or receive a copy of public records. Unfortunately, that is not how the law functions in our everyday practice. Agencies and courts across Nevada interpret it all very, very differently. And I'm going to offer you an example that happened right here in Boulder City just in the past couple of weeks. Police in Boulder City arrested a school employee on allegations of lewdness involving students. That's a quite serious issue that we've been covering. The arrest occurred at the end of January, and our newsroom promptly requested a copy of the arrest report from Boulder City Justice Court, which becomes the custodian of that record after a probable cause hearing. The court denied our request and directed me to the police department. About a week later, Boulder City Police provided a severely, heavily redacted document. But had that arrest occurred in Las Vegas, both Metro Police and the Justice Court there would have released the report, though each entity applies different standards for their redactions and if they're going to charge us or not. While Boulder City and Metro release their arrest reports, so the department releases the report to us directly, Henderson Police, North Las Vegas Police, and State Police do not. If someone is arrested on the highway just down the road here in Jean, that report may never become public until someone is adjudicated, because that is how the law can be interpreted, solely because of the geography and which agency and which court is involved. So State Police and Jean do not release the report to us, so I may never see it, which serves no good to no one. Waiting until adjudication to report on a crime does not do justice to anyone and does not serve the public's right to understand how our government is working, how police agencies work, and how our courts operate in real time. I urge you to uphold the public's right to timely and consistent access to information. And as you can see from the many journalists here today, we will be watching. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment? Okay, seeing none, and we did not receive any written comments, we'll move on to item 3, election of chair and vice chair. And I thought it would really be helpful for both the public and the committee's benefit for all of us to briefly give some remarks about who we are and what our background is, because I think that we may not all know each other before we move on to election of chair and vice chair. And per AB 128, the chair does have to be from one of the transparency advocates, and the vice chair is from the government advocates. So if we could have you, I also identify which type of appointee you are, that would also be helpful. So I'll go ahead and start here in person. I'll start from my right, and Mr. Lippman, could you start us off, just providing us your name, your background, your appointee assigned title, and then anything else you'd wish to share.
Yes, my name is Ben Lippman. I'm the Chief Legal Officer of the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I've been a practicing lawyer for 30, almost 5 years now, practicing mainly in the area of commercial litigation and media law, and I've been with the Las Vegas Review-Journal now for about 7 years, and a big part of my practice is public records work. And I'm on the transparency side.
My name is Colleen McCartney. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Ballard Spahr. In my role as an attorney, I represent, my firm represents nearly every broadcaster on the television side in the state. We also work with the Review-Journal on occasion. We represent media entities, production companies, and other media outlets all over the country, and I'm engaged in public records work all over the country, so I have sort of a unique perspective on how these things are handled in other states. In my former life, I was an investigative reporter at Channel 8 for about 10 years, and an investigative reporter as a career for about 20, so I first became very familiar with public records and how the process works or doesn't work in that capacity. And I'm very excited to be here and hope that together we can perhaps make some improvements to what is often a challenging issue in our state. And I will be seeking the chair position today.
Thank you. My name is Brittany Walker. I am city attorney for Boulder City, Nevada. I have over 10 years of government experience. I've worked for the Nevada Assembly. I've also worked for the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada, and I was appointed city attorney of Boulder City in 2020. And as attorney for a government entity, I do deal with public records law on a daily basis. We ensure full transparency. I do believe that while my title is a government entity representative, I do believe in transparency, and I do believe that there needs to be clarity in our public records law, which is what we were tasked to handle today. So I have a lot of experience with the statutes and case law, and I do believe that we're really looking forward to having such a productive discussion on this task force.
Good afternoon. My name is Leslie Nino Piero. I am General Counsel of the Office of the Attorney General. I've been here for about 5 years. Prior to that, I was a commercial litigation attorney. I've also worked for the federal courts for close to 8 years, and so I have pretty extensive litigation experience. In the many responsibilities that I have in my current role as General Counsel, it includes public records, and as you know, the Attorney General's office provides advice and counsel on public records requests to the many state agencies, boards, commissions. And so I am one of the key people within our office that helps to provide advice and counsel internally to our DAGs when they are working with their clients on public records requests. So I've definitely been in the trenches and seen firsthand some of the difficulty and obstacles as a government representative here today. And like Brittany, I share the belief that we should be working towards more transparency in government and strive to do that every day. But certainly in my role here on this task force, I will endeavor to do the same.
My name is, I have to push it.
It's on.
My name is Mitch Fox, and I'm President and CEO of the Nevada Broadcasters Association. I've held that position since 2018, and we represent all of the radio and television stations in the state of Nevada. And so I'm looking forward to participating on this panel on the transparency side. And I think there's some important First Amendment issues that probably hover over all of our deliberations. And I want to thank Brittany, actually, for doing yeoman's work and pulling us all together. I really appreciate that. And I will not be seeking the chairman's position.
With that, we'll move to those participating virtually. Let's start with Matt Christian.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Matt Christian. I am Assistant General Counsel with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I've been with Metro for more than 9 years now. In my role, part of my responsibilities are to provide advice to our public records unit. And I share everyone's thoughts that there are definitely some challenges when it comes to the Nevada Public Records Act. Those may basically come up every day, if not multiple times a day, here at Metro, where we try to balance law enforcement interests and privacy interests with the public's right to know. Before I was here at Metro, I was a civil litigator. I've basically been a civil litigator my whole career, 25 years. I've always represented public agencies, including the school district, the county, and the state. So I have quite a bit of background in what it's like to work for the government and some of those challenges. And I have a lot of insight into all the types of records that a government agency would possess. Look forward to working with everybody.
We'll go to Matt Morris next.
Yep, good afternoon. My name is Matt Morris. I'm an attorney with Holland and Hart, proud graduate of Boyd Law, 2013. In my practice, I primarily focus on government relations and administrative law, and I frequently encounter issues under NRS 239. I'll just echo the comments of my colleagues that I do hope that we can work together to find some opportunities to clarify the statute. I think it creates a lot of difficulties in a lot of different contexts, and I'm hoping that this task force can work on making some recommendations that would clarify the statute.
Thank you. We'll go to Josh Hicks.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Josh Hicks. I'm an attorney at McDonald Carano. I'm in private practice. I've been practicing about 30 years. I spent the first half of my practice in the government. I was a deputy attorney general for years, and I worked in the governor's office as well, in the general counsel and chief of staff role. So I've had the perspective of both responding to public records requests and making public records requests, and the challenges that come on both sides of that aisle. So I look forward to working with everybody as we go through this process. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kaylee Work.
Oh, here it goes. Hey there, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Kaylee Work. I am the Washoe County Recorder. I oversee millions of both physical and digital records related to property and financing documents in Washoe County. I also serve as a board member on the State of Nevada Historical Records Advisory Board. I am really looking forward to serving along each of you, and of course, I'm a government appointee.
Thank you. And then Vince Guthrow.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vincent Guthrow. I serve as the Executive Director of NACO, or the Nevada Association of Counties. We're the statewide organization that represents all 17 counties in a variety of ways. I've been in this role. This starts my 10th year here at NACO. I appreciate Brittany sort of pulling us all together. So like echo Mitch Fox's comments on that. So I appreciate all of you putting in the time today and in our subsequent meetings that I'm sure we'll have. I too share everyone's comments that talked about bringing some clarity to this law. I think there's a lot of work that we can do there where we can all sort of coordinate and collaborate and come together on that. So I look forward to having those discussions. So I am obviously on the government side here, bringing that together. So thank you very much for pulling this together, Brittany, and thanks all for joining this and being willing to serve.
Thank you, everyone. With that, we'll open up the discussion on chair. I heard Colleen express interest in chair. Is there any others on, again, per AB 128, the chair does have to be from the transparency one of the transparency representatives. Is there others interested in being chair?
I would simply, if we need to, nominate Colleen for the role.
Okay, is that a motion?
Move to nominate her.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, is there a second for Colleen?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we
Aye.
have? Okay, everybody on the aye, okay. Okay, moving to vice chair, are there any nominees? Or is anyone wishing to express interest in vice chair? Or I guess I should turn it over to the chair, huh?
I guess that's right. Thank you. Yes, is there anyone who would like to serve as vice chair from the government side of the House? Well, is there anyone who would like to nominate someone to serve as vice chair?
I'll go ahead and nominate Vince Guthrow as vice chair.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Let's take a vote. Who is in favor of Mr. Guthrow as vice chair?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. All right, moving on to item 4, consideration of the task force webpage hosted by the Office of the Attorney General. Ms. Nino Pirro, perhaps you could talk a little bit about what the purpose of that is and
I'd be happy to. So similar to the open meeting law task force webpage, which is hosted by the Office of the Attorney General, I've proposed that we put together a basic webpage for the Public Records Task Force. And the main purpose of this is to inform the public of who the task members are, and then to provide agenda and meeting materials online, in addition to the notice on the state government notice website. So it would be a very simple webpage, provided mainly to make sure that we are in compliance with OML law.
Chair, may I also make some comments on this?
please.
Thank you. So in exploring Assembly Bill 28, there are very few task forces like this. The open meeting law applies, and so we have to make sure we're compliant with that and posting the agenda. We did reach out to LCB to see if we could use LCB's website. Their response was that they cannot provide administrative support because a legislator is not on the task force, and so we're a bit limited. And I do want to say that getting this agenda posted, having this meeting today, has all been an effort of the government representatives that are here. We live with open meeting law and public records law every day, and we thought it was really important that this task force came together and we do our job. And so we are in-kinding, or the government entities themselves, not us personally, are in-kinding their resources towards this purpose. And I just think it's really important to show that we are so committed to transparency, and we are committed to achieving our purpose. And so I'm really supportive of this task force webpage, and thank the Attorney General's office. And without the Attorney General's office, we wouldn't have this agenda posted in compliance with open meeting law. We wouldn't have this as an option. And so it's, they have provided a lot of support, which is not statutorily required or expected. And we are all just trying to do our part so that we can present a comprehensive report to the legislature and hopefully get some clarity that we all desperately feel that is necessary. So I just wanted to offer that additional background on the item.
Are there any other questions, comments from the committee?
I have a question, if I may. Well, is the idea then that it would just have bios on it and then the posted agenda for the next meeting, or do you contemplate something more?
No, sir. And in fact, I had not contemplated bios.
I thought you
Merely
said
just
that.
just a list of names, and then whether or not the representative is either from the government side or from the transparency side. And then to provide the meeting agendas and materials. I've also, in my internal conversations with staff members, included a disclaimer to say that the Attorney General's office is not providing advice or counsel to the task force. I am here in my capacity as a member of the task force, but not as providing counsel to the task force. Does that answer the question?
Yeah,
Okay.
it did. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it makes sense if you're concerned about it being tied to the Attorney General, if we had some more independent website, but we could always start with one and work towards something else if we feel we need one up immediately, if that's what people are saying.
Yeah, essentially we have to, for maximum transparency, we thought this was the simplest way to host agendas and have our information out. If there were another opportunity for maybe at our next meeting to have have someone offer to host or donate money for a separate website, that would be, I think, welcome. But this was just our way of making sure we were compliant with open meeting laws as soon as possible.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? I have a question. Where will public comment that is submitted electronically go?
So, Leslie Nino Piro, we have not addressed that question yet. What I did in our draft agenda was place the email address for the General Counsel's office within the Attorney General's office. But if there is another place, like Brittany mentioned, if there is another website or a domain where we would like to establish email addresses for the public comment to go to the new website, I'd be happy to provide or redirect the public in our agendas to provide the public comment there.
Okay, so you would get the public comment through the website?
Whoever we designate to receive public comment and then distribute it appropriately.
Okay. I would be interested to know from the committee if it makes sense perhaps to have the public comment, and tell me if this is something that can be done, go to the chair and the vice chair automatically?
Yeah, it can be done that way. You would just put on there that the public comment must be submitted to, the email addresses, and they could submit it to the chair and vice chair. for then distribution to the rest of the committee. It's really an administrative task, though, really. It's once the public comment submitted, it's then sent to all the members of the task force. And there are parameters with open meeting law that ensure that if that weren't to take place, we'd be in violation of, open meeting law. So we'd have to share it once it's submitted.
Okay, I guess my concern is since we don't really have an admin person.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a problem. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and that's why, for purposes of this first meeting, that I listed my own executive assistant here and my own email address to be able to have a place I can tell you that there was no public comment submitted prior to this first meeting. If this process is acceptable and if everyone is okay with my executive assistant providing minimal administrative support in order to distribute public comment to the entire task force, I'm happy to accommodate.
All right. Do we have a motion with respect to the task force webpage hosted by the Office of the Attorney General?
I'll make that motion.
And,
Second?
all right. All those in favor of the task force webpage being hosted by the Office of the...
Can I offer an amendment to the motion?
I think we have to...
No, that's a procedurally proper. It can be this is just, after there's a second, there can be discussion. So if you'd like discussion.
Yeah, I'd offer more discussion. I think the motion perhaps should read that we're going to, in the interim, to the extent necessary that we need it to post things, that we'll have it hosted as proposed here, with the idea that as time comes, we're going to change it, if at all possible, to something that either goes directly to the chairman and vice chair or is a, let's call it an independent website to which it goes that gets forwarded to all of us.
So I'm hearing your amendment is to approve it for agenda posting at this time, but if there's another option that comes forward that's more independent, that we would change to that at that time?
Yeah.
I think the consideration, because that was the conundrum with this bill, and I remember that when this bill was going through the state legislatures, there's no funding, there's no administrative help, there's nothing. So unless someone donates pro bono, website skills, website development, which is probably a rare occurrence, unless you know someone, I think we probably should be pretty much satisfied with what we've got, which I appreciate the Attorney General stepping forward. I personally don't see a conflict, if that's what your concern is.
Well, I guess my concern was that we find a way to implement what we've been talking about previously, which was that the comments will go directly to the chair and vice chair for dissemination.
Well, if any comments are received, they would be distributed to the full membership. The Attorney General's office is offering that limited administrative support to operate the website, post the agenda, take any public comments that are received via email and share them with the task force, which is very generous of the Attorney General's office to do. And again, we're required to do that by open meeting law. So if we didn't, we could be subject to a complaint. There's a statutory scheme that governs that. And I agree with Mitch that if there was another option to come forward, it's something we could always reconsider in the future. But given our very competitive timeline to provide a report to the legislature by the end of October, I think it's probably unlikely.
Are there any questions, comments from the folks online?
I was just going to say that we can always revisit this later if there is some glitch or some problem that's discovered, but for now, it seems like a very good solution, and I appreciate the AG stepping up.
And just for purposes of the record, we should probably get into the habit of identifying ourselves as we go along here.
Yeah, we got to get back into legislative mode.
Yeah, we'll have to get it back in, yeah. So
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Matt Christian.
Thank you. So can we have a motion then, whether it be,
You would just call for the vote at this point if the maker of the motion has no desire to amend their motion, which is Mitch.
Yeah, I have no desire.
All right. So all in favor, please, of the task force website being hosted by the Office of the Attorney General?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Moving on to topic number 5, consideration of topics for next meeting's agenda and related issues.
I had a
Comments,
question.
questions
This
from,
probably should have fallen under the prior agenda item, but is this going to be the physical location? Thank you very much, by the way, for the task force to meet physically?
So we informally discussed, when in talking to some of the government entity members, that we would sort of take turns hosting these meetings. I was volunteering the Boulder City Council Chambers and Resources for this first meeting. We didn't really agendize it, but also where we meet, I don't know that that's really a matter before our concern. That's what we had talked about informally, is that the governments would take turns hosting. Does anyone want to add to that? Does any other government want to host the next meeting or volunteer for that?
Well, there's no one. from-
Haley Work here for the record. I'm happy to host one in Washoe County at an upcoming meeting.
That's what we
And this is
informally
Matt.
discussed. Oh, go ahead.
This is Matt Christian at Metro. I'm pretty sure that I would be able to facilitate hosting a meeting either here at Metro or at the county. The county government center. But I'm not opposed to one of the non-governmental agencies hosting a meeting.
any other questions, comments with respect to where we're going to meet?
Is there a non-governmental agency that wants to host? We do have to have a space large enough for people to attend. You have to have a physical space. And then you have to have public comment, and of course, you can have virtual, but you still have to have a physical location per NRS 241.
Leslie Nino Piero, for the record, the Office of the Attorney General would also be amenable to hosting any meetings as needed.
Okay. What about other topics for next meeting's agenda? Any other questions, comments, suggestions?
This is Matt Christian at Metro. I think maybe we can consider how will the agenda items be placed on the agenda. I believe that all 10 of us have the ability to place items on the agenda, and my understanding would be that the procedure for doing that would be to submit the topics to at least the chair and the vice chair for placement on the agenda. But I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that, because any one of us could overwhelm the agenda with 20 topics.
I thought, this is Brittany Walker, City Attorney for Boulder City. We can always, I think putting something on the agenda is not, is always something that we can do. It's not something that has to be publicly discussed prior, because it's going to be on the agenda for the next meeting. But, and if there's a desire to remove it, that can be removed by a majority vote to just move it off the agenda. But I did think this topic would be helpful to get into some of the substance of maybe some broad topics we should consider. The bill itself does delineate what we're supposed to review. it tasks us with evaluating the current exemptions to NRS 239, the policies related to public records of any review board under NRS 289, which is the Peace Officers Bill of Rights, the impact of broad requests for public records on governmental entities, the cost burden and time constraint on governmental entities to redact confidential information. So I think each of those, it may be they could be very time consuming to talk all at once, but maybe we could schedule some of those for the second and third meetings. And I do think that it'd be helpful to invite, maybe for us to think offline about inviting someone to come present, like maybe someone from one of the other local governments or someone from the press, broadcasters, to present on the issues they see within these topics to the board, because while we've been appointed to represent, because we have specific experience with public records, this obviously impacts more than just those on this task force, and I think it'd be really helpful to have people come who speak for a multitude of voices and present what they view as their issues to us. I think that would be really helpful. So those are my thoughts.
Any other questions, comments on the idea of having presenters based on the topics listed in the bill?
Daily work for the record. I think maybe having a presentation by the Clerks Association may be helpful to understand the full scope of and burden of large requests.
The what association?
Was that the Clerks Association?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to make a similar recommendation. Like that could be a good process presentation just from the government side.
And perhaps we should talk a little bit about what the mechanism for reaching out to those folks would be and getting those things together.
I think between Kaylee, we could handle that on our end.
Yeah.
If that's okay. I'm happy to do it, or one of us, both of us.
Absolutely.
We know some people. We can do it.
Any on the transparency side of the house suggestions for possible presenters?
Perhaps the Nevada Open Government Coalition would be one.
Yeah, I hadn't thought through specific organizations or people that might want to come forward. I assume that we're just brainstorming right now, but of course, as time goes on, we could come up with people who are relevant to whatever topics might be coming up. That was Ben Lippman.
I think I agree with all that. I also think maybe inviting some of local government attorneys who want to volunteer and present, maybe from one of the urban consortium members or the league or we could invite one of those attorneys to present on some of the issues they see from a government perspective.
Colleen McCarty, for the record, I would also suggest that there are probably some of the media outlets that might like to come and present as well as to what they deal with on a regular basis.
Ben Lippman, as well as attorneys, private practice attorneys who regularly practice in the area of seeking transparency.
What other sort of topics for next meeting's agenda would we like to consider? I would suggest that perhaps we ought to think about the structure of how we go about making decisions.
I believe that is set forth somewhat in the bill. It does say that A majority of members at the task force constitutes a quorum for the transaction of business, and a majority of those members present at the meeting is sufficient for any official action. So it would be there would be control within the agenda topic itself, which I think maybe we could put on. So I guess, is there other, what specifically were you thinking?
I think that it's really sort of silent as to how it has to be done. I think this provision speaks more to what constitutes a quorum, and perhaps it would make sense to consider more of a caucus structure like these types of committees typically use.
Well, I will say, per open meeting law, we can meet with less than a quorum. Like, we can talk with, as long as it's less than a quorum of the full body, we can talk to each other. As far as approving of items and taking official action, the bill does itself say that a majority of the members present is sufficient. So anytime we have an item to take action on, that would be a majority of the members present is enough to take that action. So that part is set up in the bill.
I don't think that, Colleen McCarty for the record, I don't think that precludes us from agreeing on a structure that requires more than a simple majority. Are there any other thoughts, comments on this?
I think the caucus structure is a good idea, and certainly think we should. It's not I guess we're talking right now whether that should be on next meeting's agenda, technically. I think it should be. I think we should talk it through more.
Could I just ask clarity of what's meant by caucus structure? Because like I was just saying, we can already meet outside of open meeting as long as we're less than a quorum. So what is the caucus structure you're contemplating?
Colleen McCarty for the record, I think the idea would be that in order for a recommendation to go to the legislature, for example, it would require a majority of, or at least 3 or 4,
A majority
of one side or the other.
No, of each.
Of each, yeah, sorry, that's what I meant.
I understood that to mean.
Mitch Fox for the record. Perhaps caucus, because that denotes more party affiliation, but maybe a subcommittee. We can regroup into various committees to tackle various sections of NRS, because I think we really have to start with 239 and look at it and say, this requires some eyeballs, this requires review, this requires modification, and maybe if we had those subcommittees to look at different subsections, that might be productive. Is that kind of what we're saying, the same thing?
Yes, open meeting law does require subcommittees to meet in open meeting. So if the bodies appoint a subcommittee, then that subcommittee does have to meet in open meeting. Whereas right now, we can already meet less than a quorum outside of open meeting. So I mean, I'm just pointing out that that's the legal requirements. I do disagree that we can agree to a supermajority or a majority of a different voting mechanism for approving official action, because I believe the bill speaks to this, and it says that a majority of those present is sufficient for any official action. So if you had a rule that said that we were not that it had to be a majority from both sides, I think that would be in conflict. Are there any other attorneys that have an interpretation of that? Or non-attorneys too? I'm not trying to discriminate.
This is Matt Christian. I guess I'm not clear exactly what the chair is suggesting. My understanding is that if we were going to make an official recommendation to the legislature, it's going to require a majority. there'd be a quorum required in an open meeting, and the majority of the attendees at that meeting would be required to make a recommendation. I'm not sure if the suggestion is that there's some way around that, but that would be my understanding of how it would have to work. Maybe the chair can clarify what this caucus structure means?
Sure. The way I read provision 7 is that a majority of those is sufficient for any official action. I think we can take as official action to determine how we want to go about structuring the way in which we provide recommendations to the legislature. In order to ensure that we're all, I guess, that all voices are being heard, the thought was that for recommendations to the legislature, they would require a majority from the transparency side and the government side, as opposed to just a simple majority. But again, I think at this point, we're talking about things to consider for the next agenda, so perhaps this would be a topic to think about and discuss further on the next agenda. Any other questions, comments?
Leslie Nino Pirro for the record. My reading of the statute comports with what both Matt Christian and Brittany Walker's reading is, that the plain meaning of the statute would just require a simple majority in order for us to take official action.
All right. So any other issues that we'd like to consider for the next agenda? So far I have where we're going to host the meetings, how we're going to submit topics, presenters potentially, the structure, any other topics we'd like to include on the next agenda. All right, seeing none, does someone want to make a motion? All right, well, this can just be a discussion topic, I suppose, and we can come back if there's no motion.
What are you asking for a motion? For those items to be on the agenda?
And we can go one by one if that's more palatable. We've talked about how we go about and where hosting of the meetings, how we go about submitting topics and having them included on the agenda item or on the agenda. We've talked about reaching out to other entities to provide comment and suggestion and input, and we've talked about the structure of how we make decisions.
Yeah, I'd move to put those all on the agenda for next session, if that's what you're asking for.
Is there a second?
This is Mitch Fox. I'll second that.
Chair, may I offer some discussion?
Absolutely.
On just where we meet, it seems a bit chicken and egg. And and I don't think it's necessarily, open meeting law applies to the purview of our membership, and it kind of dictates on who's willing to provide the space as well, because we weren't given resources and things like that. So I don't know that that needs to be an agenda item as much as it can be informal. I suppose if we have a vehement disagreement on where we meet, we could agendize it, but maybe we just address that more informally. That's just my 2 cents on that item. And then I wouldn't be opposed to maybe having like a bylaws as a discussion item for for the sort of meeting structure, maybe bylaws, but I do think that it's pretty clear on the law that we can't restructure how the task force makes decisions. So just offering that additional clarity. So I realize there is a motion and a second on the floor. Just wanted to offer those thoughts.
Mitch Fox, for the record, just make sure we're making progress. For the two individuals, I forgot who they were. I know Washoe County was one of them, maybe Metro was the second one. If one of them can just offer that we're going to meet there for our next meeting. I believe we are mandated to meet 4 times, I believe. And so I'm assuming between now and October, that means about every 6 weeks, if my math is off. So if one of those two individuals can volunteer to host it, or we can come back here. Either way, beautiful city, lots of nice lunch spots. So, yeah, I think you're right. I agree with you. We could probably settle that without making an agenda item. Long-winded answer.
I'm happy to amend my motion to not put where we meet on next session's agenda and leave it to the other issues.
All right, with respect to where we should meet next time, is there anyone who wants to offer up their location at this moment?
As someone with an office near Metro, can I suggest Metro? Just kidding, purely selfishly.
This is Matt Christian. I was hoping that Leslie would agree to do the next one at the AG's office. But
And I was
if that's convenient, I can try to manage it here. It depends on the date. The more lead time I have, the better it would be for Metro, because we have limited space that would accommodate a public meeting. And I know that that space is utilized a lot, so I sort of need a lot of lead time.
Yeah, I think this is something we could discuss. Brittany Walker, for the record, could discuss offline, because we do, like, even my council chambers, we'd have to coordinate that. I'd have to make sure the city manager's okay with it. There's just a lot of logistics involved, I think. So I think the maker of the motion amended their motion to remove that, and does the second agree to renew their second?
Sure.
And then,
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Can we take a vote, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, at this time, it's time for public comment. Members of the public may comment in person or in writing in any manner that's not specifically included on the agenda at this time. Is there any other public comment today? Seeing nothing in the room, is there anyone virtually who would like to have public comment?
I'm sorry, we don't have the virtual comment available. No, we had just limited resources, so it was difficult to facilitate that. So we just have it in person.
Okay. Seeing no public comment, we will move on to item 7 and adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Thank you, everybody.
I think you need a motion to
you.
adjourn,
Thank you.
I think, doesn't she? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm in the Homeland Security Commission, and we do, but if you,
it's kind of like differs. I don't know.
okay. Forget I